All right. How do you feel?
All right, thanks so much. Well, up next, we're very fortunate to have County Supervisor Mitch Mashburn from the County of Solano. He serves as the current board chair of their board and also is a member of the Solano County Water Association Board of Directors. Here we go.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much, and thank you for having me out on this wonderful day. It's beautiful out here in Winters today. I would like to have been able to just wing it up here and be able to talk about the Winters and about the creek and about the salmon, but I have some points that I absolutely have to hit today. So with that, my name is Mitch Mashburn. I'm honored to represent Solano County's 5th Supervisorial District. Putah Creek stretches 32 miles from Monticello Dam to the Toad Range near West Sacramento. Along the way, it connects to the communities of Winters, Davis, UC Davis, and the Yolo Bypass. While the courts once mandated minimum fish flows, something remarkable happened in 2000. The Solano County Water Agency and many others came together to sign the Putah Creek Accord, which went beyond the legal minimum and added pulse flows to attract salmon. When that lawsuit began, it ended in collaboration and a lasting accord. Since that moment, the Water Agency has invested $25 million, including $15 million in grant funding, towards managing and restoring the creek. And the results speak for themselves. In 2017, an estimated 1,700 adult Chinook salmon returned to Putah Creek to spawn. Starting in 2024, thanks to that partnership with UC Davis, we now count every salmon that arrives, no more estimates. Even better, UC Davis scientists have found that up to 20% of those returning salmon were actually born here in Putah Creek. The rest of the salmon come from nearby streams or hatcheries, proof that this restored habitat is drawing fish from across the region. It's important to remember, salmon didn't return in large numbers until 2014, and it wasn't just cold water that brought them back. Salmon need food, spawning gravel, rearing areas, cover from predators, and safe passage to and from the ocean. It's not just about adding water. And this is the important part that I had to talk to you all about today. As we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Putah Creek Accord, we also stand at a crossroads for California water policy. The Bay Delta Water Control Plan is on the horizon, and staff at the State Water Resources Control Board proposed unimpaired flows as an answer to saving salmon and supporting the water users. But here's the truth. Science does not support that approach. Independent scientists, water providers, farmers, cities, just about everyone, including the Solano County Water Agency, are calling for a better alternative, healthy rivers and landscapes approach. Putah Creek proves it can work. It is literally the epitome of healthy rivers and landscapes. It was all done. Where's Matt at? All thanks to that stream keeper right over there with a grader and a front loader and a lot of gravel. It's not just water restoration, it's science. It's adaptive management, and it's working. The salmon have come back and they're staying. None of this happens without community. And that's what we have here in Solano and Yolo counties, the shared creek, supported by landowners, farmers, agencies, nonprofits, and you, the citizens. Thank you for being part of this incredible effort and this celebration. I hope everybody enjoys their day today. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Supervisor Mashburn. Up next, Carol Ciana, council member for the City of Winters, also serves on the Lower Putah Creek Coordinating Committee, and she's been on the council since 2023. But if you know Carol, she's everything. She does it all. Look at she was one of the main volunteers today. She's doing all kinds of stuff. So Carol Ciana, all right.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming to the festival and for helping us celebrate the 25th anniversary of this very important accord. On behalf of the mayor, Al Mayasillo, and the rest of the council, we do have a proclamation that the city provided, just honoring all the efforts that everyone's put into getting this accord to happen many years ago, and especially all the efforts since then to bring salmon back to the creek. And the creek has become, I think, the gem of Winters. And when I first moved here, you had to be young and dumb to get down to the creek because it was not easy. And now it's accessible to everyone: strollers, walkers, older people, younger people, for babies, picnic areas. It's just amazing what it's become, and it's definitely the gem of our town, and we feel very appreciative of all the efforts that have gone in to restore the creek, and we are a tremendous beneficiary of all those efforts. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks again for all those that worked on the challenges of getting through that report to this wonderful end result. So thanks for coming.
Bringing the salmon back was about the water, or about the gravel, or about the money, more grants, but really it's about the group of people that are working together, have a common vision, and making it happen. The proof's in the pudding. There's fish underneath the old railroad bridge right now. Big salmon. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks so much, Max. So actually, if we can get all of the folks who just spoke, come on up. The Putah Creek Council folks, come on up. And then we're going to do just a quick photo, and then we're going to switch over just to our facilitated discussion, a little panel with some of the folks who were most involved in this effort for the last 25 years.
I saw it. Guys, it goes. Cart already.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Let's hear it on 1, 2, 3, salmon. 1, 2, 3, salmon!
I knew you would get best shoes.
All right, so we're going to do a little quick, just a facilitated discussion with a number of folks who have been so involved in this entire process for all these years. So first of all, just want to, the history and impact of the Accord. If I could get folks, David Akita, Joe Corboza, Sid England, Roland Sanford, if you could all come on up. We'd be grateful to have you up here. I know it's sunny and warm, but appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Need some oil greased up with that. All right, so we've got a few draft questions for y'all. First of all, just would love to hear from each of you a little bit, just your involvement certainly in the entirety of the Accord over the many years, certainly, but also, we'll just say 25 years ago, of course, that the original situation ended an extended legal battle and secured water rights for landowners, habitat, and of course salmon. You all, of course, were instrumental in helping to develop the Accord, and if you would just all be willing to, again, share a little bit about your background, but also a memorable story or so from each of you, just about that entire process, would be grateful. Whoever wants to go first.
Hello, everybody. My name's Sid England. I worked at the university, and I was a member of kind of a 6-person team that managed the university's involvement in the situation. Marge Dickinson, who couldn't be here today, another staffer like me. Hap Dunning, who is no longer with us, was an environmental law attorney. Vern Scott, who has also has passed away, was a water engineer. And last but not least, Peter Moyle. I don't know if Peter is here today or not. He's a fisheries biologist. And then the last person of our team was Alan Lilly. I know Alan's here somewhere, back behind my wife there. Alan was our attorney who represented us through the process, so we really operated as a team. As something, there are so many events I could think of. To narrow it down to one to kind of recall, I thought of one that really related to the Salmon Festival. One of the issues early on was whether or not salmon were native to Putah Creek. Several years before the whole process started with the legal battle, we had a site on campus where we were renovating some landscaping. We found Native American burials. In there we found a lot of fish remains, and among those fish remains were little ear bones called otoliths. And from those you can identify the species of fish. And it turned out salmon was a big part of the Native American diet that used to live, those who used to live on campus. And from that, we were able to, and other things, we were able to establish that that site was 1,500 years old. So salmon, Native Americans were living on the creek long before Europeans arrived here, and salmon was a large part of their diet. That was one of many pieces of evidence that helped us establish that salmon were native to Putah Creek.
Thank you, Sid. My name is David Okita. I was general manager of Solano County Water Agency during the litigation and the settlement. And obviously it started out being very adversarial. We represent the water users who were concerned that water from Lake Berryessa going into the creek would adversely impact the water supply that goes to homes and businesses and agriculture in Solano County. However, you can see the end result is that we're all one happy family, but it certainly didn't start out that way. So I have a story for you. This was maybe 30 years ago. Jim Egan, who was the manager of Yolo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District, hosted a meeting in his office over there with Lois Walk, Helen Thompson, who was a supervisor at that time, myself, and a few other Solano folks, including Bryce Bledsoe. Remember that name. Bryce was an old-timer, hardcore water person, chain smoker, who felt very strongly that the water in Berryessa belonged to Salmon. I was a young engineer who has been working around the state and got kind of a bigger perspective on things. And I remember at that meeting, Helen Thompson said to Bryce, "Hey, you know, Bryce, times are changing." Okay, and she was exactly right, because at that time, the environmental movement was just moving. Court cases were starting to fall in the realm of the environmental groups. The legislature was being more responsive to environmental groups. And if you're a water agency, you need to be responsive to that. And I like to think that Solano County Water Agency was a vanguard in recognizing that. But I want to tell you, it took a kick in the pants by people like Helen Thompson and these folks over here to get us to that point. But I like I'm happy that it's recognized that we did see the light. You can see it with all our booths and all our efforts here, and everything has turned out pretty good.
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm Joe Cravosa. I'm up here, I think, only because I was chair of the Putah Creek Council while we were negotiating the accord. But I want to recognize Susan Sanders and Robin Kaleko and Steve Cheney, who were the three founders of the Putah Creek Council, and they're all here today. And I was just standing on their shoulders. Bill Julian is here. Bill was the quiet legal advisor who said, you know, what they did in the Mono Basin, using the public trust doctrine and section 5937 of the Fish and Game Code, we can do that in Davis for Putah Creek. And so it was Bill who was the architect of the initial legal strategy that carried us through to today. But what I want to kind of riff on a little bit is to pick up the theme of David. Obviously, we're all working forward now, and it's going very, very well. We're looking at this incredible salmon festival, which we never envisioned. Nobody thought that 1,600, 1,500 salmon could be coming up Putah Creek in any given year, and we'd be celebrating it like this. But I want to call out Lois Wolk. And as we were negotiating the accord, and we had gotten done with first the litigation and then the negotiations that led to the Putah Creek Accord in 2000, Lois said, we can't stop the fighting over the water and not set up a system where we're not going to fight about the restoration. And that led to the creation of the Lower Putah Creek Coordinating Committee, the hiring of the streamkeeper, the wonderful gesture of Solano to take the money they were spending for environmental purposes within the agency and move a huge chunk of that over to the Lower Putah Creek Coordinating Committee so that we brought everybody together around restoration. And if we had continued fighting about restoration, we wouldn't be here today, and I really don't think we would have had 1,600 salmon coming up. We wouldn't have had a wonderful streamkeeper for 20 plus years in Rich Maravich, and we wouldn't have Max Stevenson here today. We'd have Max, but he wouldn't be the streamkeeper. So I just want to recognize Lois's vision in pivoting from fighting about the water to consensus about the restoration. And that's what stands out to me.
Well, my name is Roland Sanford, and at the time of the Accord, I was the Assistant General Manager at the Water Agency, and my role was really more technical and working on questions such as how much water is it going to take to maintain a certain flow downstream from the diversion dam, and what does that mean to the water users in terms of their supply. And so I was mainly in the back room, and many times Dave would come down the hall and say, well, we need you to look at this other scenario now and figure out what it really means. And I don't know how many times you came down the hall, but it's like we were constantly working as it got closer to an agreement on the Accord. The pace just picked up. And I do remember that there were a lot of interesting discussions that occurred. I like to describe it as weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth to get everybody on the same page, at least within Solano. And my memory, one memory, and it was a moment in time, but after the parties had agreed in principle to the settlement, the Accord, we all met in Sacramento at Superior Court. Judge Park he presided over the lawsuit, and Judge Park I came to appreciate, had a dry sense of humor, and he looked at us and he made a comment. He said, I'm sure this took a lot of head knocking to get to this point. It was like, Judge Park, you have no idea.
Sid mentioned Peter Moyle, and Peter Moyle was instrumental in the settlement from a technical standpoint. His concept of what he calls reconciliation biology was the foundation for the flows that you see today. And I don't want to misquote what the concept is, but it's basically you don't need to go back to what it was before the dam was there. You need to take what's there now and try and make it better, and also an aspect of collaboration. So his proposal for the flows were very reasonable from our standpoint, and that really led to the settlement.
Thanks to you all for those most memorable moments, but also insights and acknowledgments. Really appreciate those. So, curious, certainly one of the biggest benefits, clearly, salmon, return of salmon to Putah Creek, certainly, but love to hear from each of you just your thoughts around, what do you think one of the biggest benefits has been, or outcomes of the Accord and over the last 25 years, from your perspective?
All of you are the biggest benefit. When we started, it was a very small group of people that was interested in the creek, and the community of people, landowners, ecologists, agency people, the stream keeper, everybody now, the community that values the creek now is so large there's no going back, and that's where the big benefit is.
So since I retired in 2015, I've been working part-time for the state of California on various resource matters, and I'm also in the San Joaquin Valley on a volunteer basis. And there are problems like this all over the state. And I always uphold Putah Creek as an example of what you can get with collaboration, appropriate use of science, and just the will to try and get something done.
As far as benefits, something the Accord has done is created a wonderful starting point. And what I mean by that is certainly the issue about fish and health in the creek was central and continues to be. But it really broadened out far beyond, I think back where we started in terms of some of the studies and whatnot that have gone on with the creek. And so I think that is really important. And just the fact that it was a catalyst for so much more. But the other thing, and the others have also mentioned this, is the social or sociological benefits of the Accord, which I don't think any of us thought about. Again, the fact that we're even here, a salmon festival, nobody, I think, was thinking about that. But I think about also the education opportunities, Putah Creek Council, and just really what this has meant to people in the communities is something that I know when we were first working on it, was just not even really on the radar, and yet that is probably the biggest benefit in my mind, the social aspect.
I know you're all thinking, I wish they could get a little bit more wonky up there. But I think, one of the things that really jumps out at me is that everybody involved in the Accord, David, Roland, all of our attorneys, we've got Alan Lilly here, Brett Moffitt, I know Dan O'Hanlon is here. Everybody thought, maybe consciously or subconsciously, about what government structures you need to value the science. And we ended up with structures with the Streamkeeper, and now I see Rich here, and with his wife Donna, wonderful, that valued the science. And if you follow the science, then you're going to get everybody together, and you're going to get everybody agreeing, and you're going to have a lot of consensus. And that's absolutely what we've got here. And just a fun little joke to that was when I was chair of the Putah Creek Council, people would say, "Oh, you're chair of the Putah Creek Council." I say, no. The real chair of the Putah Creek Council is Peter Moyle. Because whatever and I'm looking right at Susan and Bill and Steve and Robin, whatever we started thinking about something, we just go to Peter, right? And our attorneys, Dan and Brett, we started thinking, we check with Peter. And Peter would tell us what the science said, and then that's what we did. And once the science was guiding, all of the plaintiffs and, everybody else in the case, then we got where we got. And that's what brings us here today. And we're not fighting about it. Solano has water certainty. I mean, David, the number of water agencies in the state of California who don't have certainty because they haven't yet settled up their environmental obligations creates so much cost and so much, misspent time, I think. But here, we don't have that. And therefore, the energy goes into restoration and salmon festivals. There we go. The landowners and their riparian rights had greater certainty as a result. So bringing everybody together and then the landowners being in partnership with the environmental community and the water agencies, brought us to today. So bring everybody in early and it makes your life easier.
Why don't I come over there with you?
Yeah, I wrote down a quote because I want to make sure I got it right. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead, anthropologist, and we can apply that to the challenges that face us today.
And particularly in the current economy now where grant funding is difficult, but the bottom line is without funding, you're just not going to get very far. So that is a lesson learned, just the importance of that and a steady, maintaining source of revenue. The other lesson from my perspective, this is a narrow aspect of the Lower Putah Creek Coordinating Committee, but one of the values that I always thought of or see with the LPCC is the fact that it brings all the parties together on a regular basis. And that's important because I think when I see other agreements that get made and then they somewhat get forgotten, the parties don't see each other, new people come on the scene, there's just that natural evolution. And so parties lose touch with each other and then in the end the agreement becomes forgotten or worse, twisted. The LPCC, among the many benefits, is the fact that it brings the parties together on a regular basis, keeps everybody in touch as conditions evolve.
All right, one big round of applause for all these heroes. Come on. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all being here today. We thank you for joining us this afternoon for this presentation, history of the Putah Creek Chords and all the lessons learned. And up next, we got Logan. Oh, we got.
Not yet. All right, hi everybody. Before I introduce the band, just a couple of reminders. We have the raffle going on. The giveaway will be at 2:45. If you have a ticket, drop in the bucket that you want.